Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and my partner right here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Karen Reed retrial, day 29. The defense, for the second time in a week, moves for a mistrial, but lifeguard Bev immediately denies the motion. Ed, your thoughts on day 29? I know your head is ready to explode for the umpteen time. What's happening?
Unethical hanky-panky got spanky today. All right. Not hard. He should have been really given a tongue lashing by the judge, but of course not. Lifeguard Bev isn't going to do that to Hanky. His unethical behavior got him in trouble again. He pulled a stunt. He got caught. He got busted. But he's been doing this whole trial. It's just that this one he got busted on. Okay. And there's no way he didn't know this shit. Okay. He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. But since, he's been getting more and more brazen with these stunts that he pulls with the witnesses, he pulls out old testimony and he pretends that the testimony says this, and then they don't know because they don't know to ask to look at the testimony or look at the records that he's holding, to hold his feet to the fire to see if actually what he's saying is in those documents is actually true. Yeah. He needs to be disbarred.
Yeah. And he continued to attack Dr. Wolf this morning, and we weren't surprised by it because this is what he's been doing. You made a mention before we went live about him going after the sergeant from Dighton, Sergeant Barros, also going after our plow driver from the Department of Public Works, Lucky. The list goes on and on.
He went after Dr. Russell.
Dr. Russell, poor Dr. Russell.
And she's the one that told him, hey, can I see that document? And then when she got it, she said, that doesn't say that here.
Right. Hey, I want to say thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers. And look, Keys from the Crypt is in from TikTok, our great friend. Many people who follow the various TikTok creators are here in our live stream to watch our analysis. But let's take a listen to what happened in the day's events. We did upload a trailer. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you, Kristen, for the trailer. If you're here from TikTok or hear from shares from other creators, or if you're new, let us know where you're watching, city, state, or country.
In confidential, John O'Keefe's sweatshirt shown before the jury leads to another call for a mistrial.
The Commonwealth has no case.
I'm not going to allow the mistrial motion.
What made the special prosecutor admit he made a mistake in front of the jury? Plus,
I find that she is not qualified.
The judge rules on another expert called by the defense. Details on the limited testimony a forensic pathologist is allowed to give on the stand. Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial starts right now.
The holes in the shirt were entirely misrepresented by the prosecutor to make it look like they came from January 29th and they came from May by the criminologist.
Karen Reed reacting to drama that played out in the courtroom today as the 8th week of testimony in her murder trial got underway. For the second time, the defense called for a mistrial. Good evening, everyone. I'm JC Monahan. Glenn is off tonight. Melody Mendez joins us now to recap the day in court that featured a number of experts. Melody?
Well, JC, here's the thing. Let's talk about that motion for a mistrial, because that is without question the headline of the day. The bottom line here is the prosecutor made a mistake. Those were his words, he said in open court. The defense thinks that was enough to call for a mistrial. The judge, once again, disagreed. But here's how it all played out. Accident reconstructionist Dr. Daniel Wolf back on the stand. The defense pulling up photos of the test dummy, noting that after it was impacted by the SUV in testing, there were holes in its clothing, inconsistent with those in John O'Keefe's clothes.
What caused the defects in the damage to the sweatshirt as we see it here?
That was due to the interaction from the rescue Randy sliding on the pavement surface.
Alan Jackson also noted the damage to the dummy's face, none of which was present on John O'Keefe's body or face,
Yes.
trying to show O'Keefe's injuries were not consistent with any collision with Reed's SUV. Under cross-examination, Hank Brennan tried to poke holes in the doctor's science, trying to discredit the doctor's conclusion that O'Keefe was not hit by Karen Reed's vehicle. Brennan asked Wolf if he considered that O'Keefe's sweatshirt had holes in locations other than on the sleeve. Brennan holding up the sweatshirt John O'Keefe was wearing that night, pointing to holes in the back of the garment. Minutes later, this.
The defense moves for a mistrial with prejudice.
Here's the problem. Those holes Brennan was showing the jury as potentially indicating signs of a collision were actually made by the criminalist, the prosecution team's witness, when she was examining the sweatshirt. Defense attorney Robert Alessi called it a stunt and intentional misconduct by the prosecution.
The Commonwealth has no case. They have no collision. They are desperate and are trying to create evidence of specters of collision where the evidence doesn't support it. So what have we come to? We've come to the manufacture of evidence.
It appears that I made a mistake.
Brennan agreed the holes were made by the state's own criminalist. Still, Judge Cannoni denied the defense's request for a mistrial. Instead, she allowed attorney Alessi to hold up the sweatshirt for the jury, then provided them with this brief instruction.
Jurors, I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt.
Two more witnesses took the stand before the end of the day. And as we do every day, we offered the friends and family of John O'Keefe a chance to share their thoughts on their way out of court.
We don't have to, you guys have all the lines going on. Good job, bye.
I think that that's a fair thing for them to do, to ask the O'Keefe side what their thoughts are on the day's events inside court. But as you could see, there was no comment. And that speaks volumes because they can't be feeling really good about Hanky at this time. I don't know anybody, no matter what side you're on, whether you're on the Karen Reed side or you're on the side of the prosecution, the Commonwealth, you can't feel good about what has been going on here in the retrial.
Listen, all the stunts that Brennan is pulling right now are acts of desperation. Right? He knows that he's losing this case. Okay. And there's nothing he can do about it. Shit in, shit out. Okay. They should have never been in court in the first place with this in the first trial, right? There shouldn't have been a first trial, but you know, the corruption and the incompetence of all the people involved here. And here we are, trial 2.
And Ed, my question to you as a forensic expert is how could a special prosecutor, Hank Brennan, how could a special prosecutor not know when he takes on the grand scale and on the grand stage, he takes that shirt inside that display case and puts it on display? How could he not know that the criminalist, Miss Hartnett,
he knew, Ron, he knew. Stop with the games. He knew. He had the report. He didn't enter that photo in his case in chief. He never entered that photo. He never entered that report about what she did to the back of the shirt. He snuck that thing in the beginning of court today, hid it behind by the judge's bench. He never discussed it with Jackson that he was going to do this. He never showed it to Jackson. Okay. Yeah. This was planned. There's no way he didn't know that those holes came from the lab analyst. And he's calling her back as a rebuttal witness for the dog DNA. And I hope during that cross-examination by defense team that they bring out that she failed her competency exam, like they went after Wolf for not passing his certification exam on the first go, okay? And bring out what she did, okay? I mean, because listen, Judge, you can't have it both ways. You can't allow them to attack your, witnesses like that, and then you don't allow the defense to bring that up either. Okay?
Let me, just to be clear here, Ed, and the audience, just to be clear, I proposed that question to get the conversation going. I in no way, shape, or form feel that he made a mistake here. I know that he knew, but what is baffling to me is how Hank Brennan could be that stupid to present that before the defense team that is sharp, that is dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Karen Reed's defense team are on every detail, and rightfully so. They're defending their client because they don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. All they have to do is show that there's reasonable doubt, and they've shown it day in and day out. But with Hank doing that, like I mean, he is now, in my eyes, dumb as a stump.
Well, listen, he's been emboldened because he's gotten away with all the other stunts that he's pulled in there, misrepresenting evidence. He brought the DNA evidence without having laid the proper foundation for it with a previous witness on his case in chief. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of it. So he figured, hey, you know, I'll take a shot, right? And he got busted.
And
so,
you got a question up on the stage there.
Yeah, folks, I got to bring this up. You know, I see with are you saying Chilo or Quilo? Quilo is something different, but anyhow, can we talk about how amazing Alessi looks wearing those gloves while being a badass? Here's the thing, guys. I don't know if you noticed this or realized it, because he surely didn't. I'm like screaming at him through the television. Take those damn gloves off. He takes the gloves, right? He puts them on. I get it. He's going to open up the plexiglass and take the shirt out of the plexiglass. Now, the shirt is contaminated. It's never been washed or cleaned or anything like that. All right. It's the way it was from the time it was collected and dried or whatever it was, went through the lab and everything. Nothing has changed in terms of its contamination. So he contaminates his gloves, and then he places that shirt in a paper bag, and then he displays it. But now he's touching his evidence. He's touching his documents. He's touching the podium. He's touching all these different things with the contaminated gloves. And then he's he's handing the judge contaminated papers. He's handing the court reporter who's going to put evidence stickers on it, contaminated papers. And then he's going to take his contaminated notes with his gloves on and go sit down back on the defense bench. And I was like, what are you doing, man? Wake up.
This is a forensic nightmare for you, Ed. But I also proposed this to you in our debrief before we went live. The knuckleheads at the Massachusetts State Police, that is Trooper Proctor, former disgraced fired Trooper Proctor, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanek, all thought it was good to dry out that shirt in their office.
On the floor, on paper.
Right. So this stuff has been contaminated through and through from the beginning of the investigation, from when these guys started handling it, and now it's happening in court.
Well, they needed that control, Ron. They needed that control so that they can do what they needed to do. Because, I mean, honestly, I don't think those pieces of short shards or small pieces of red plastic, white plastic, got on that shirt, other than somebody putting it there.
Hold on, I'm going to go full screen because Mickey Duff puts in the standard Jagaloon. Yes.
Jagaloons.
Thank you, Mickey Duff. Ed, let's listen to this piece again. I want to just get all sides of this, so let's take a listen.
Hey, thank God unless he didn't pick his nose or rub his eyes with his gloves on.
Benoni has rejected a call for a mistrial in the Karen Reed murder retrial. The defense made that request after Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan showed the jury a key piece of evidence. It was a hoodie belonging to John O'Keefe. Our NBC 10's John Maroney joining us live from Dedham with a closer look at this latest defense move to get this case thrown out. John.
Priscilla, it's the second time that the defense has called for a mistrial, and it's the second time they have been shut down.
You see more than one hole in the back of the sweatshirt.
Yes.
The jury getting a look at the sweatshirt John O'Keefe was wearing the night he died, with Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan asking a defense expert if the holes at the back of the gray hoodie occurred when Karen Reed allegedly hit him with her SUV.
To get those kind of holes, you have to have prolonged sliding contact on a rough surface.
Let's talk about that. And I thought it was brilliant that Dr. Wolf mentioned that these holes that he was showing, that Hank Brennan was showing him in the back of John O'Keefe's shirt, are not indicative of what he was trying to say they were. Ed, I know.
Yeah, perfect. He was saying it was not consistent with road rash. He was, he was spot on. He looked at that damage and he saw it. But he had all this information, and he had the autopsy report. There were no injuries to the back of Officer John O'Keefe. There was no damage noted by the lab person on the back of the shirt, because as she put those little filter paper she cut into pie shapes next to the damages, she would have noted it, she would have photographed it, and she would have documented it. And it's nowhere to be found in any of her documentation. That's why you don't see the photo entered into evidence in the prosecution's case in chief.
Yeah. 100%. A lot of people in the chat are on it. Let's say hello to Black Rose 11. Thank you, Black Rose. The Angel Rocks with L'Oreal. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Crash Daddy's Epic. Good to see you. Makeup Mobster, Karen Solak. All of the crew is assembled here tonight. And thank you to everyone who is sending in those super chats, and we will read them after we get into the bulk of the show. So in the second half, around the 30-minute mark, we'll start to get to your super chats. And thank you for gifting memberships. Hang out. If you sent in a super chat, hang out, because we answer them all. And we do it right around the halfway point. Ed, again, I knew you were cheering on Dr. Wolf because he never backed down. His expertise, his knowledge base far exceeds Hank's mindset. He could run circles around Hank Brennan, and he's done it already on the stand.
I was wondering during his testimony with the defense team if Aperture was texting Hank while watching the testimony on one of the stations and texting Hank with questions and things to attack Dr. Wolf with.
I wouldn't be surprised by anything, because Hank Brennan has shown the world, not just the people who are watching locally, he's showing the international audience that he is filthy, he's dirty, and he will use any means to try to get a guilty verdict here, and it's backfiring on him horribly. So let's listen to the rest of this. Let us know what your thoughts are in the live chat, and if you're on the replay, let us know in the comments down below.
Fine for the defense, crash expert Daniel.
Prolonged sliding contact on a rough surface.
Testifying for the defense, crash expert Daniel Wolf said the injuries to O'Keefe and holes in his hoodie were inconsistent with a motor vehicle accident.
What could be more egregious? What could be more misleading?
The defense called for a mistrial after Brennan's show and tell, saying the holes were caused by a state criminalist removing pieces of fabric, not the alleged collision.
The Commonwealth well knows from its own documents, from its own criminal list, that those holes in the back were caused by their criminalist as part of their examination. My brief review.
Hey, Ed, before I let the rest of this go, can you explain to the audience why the Massachusetts State Crime Lab criminalist cut out pieces of the back of that sweatshirt?
For testing. She cut out pieces to conduct certain tests. I don't know if all those tests were done, but she did cut them out because, there was blood on the back of the shirt too.
Right.
Okay. So, and those samples that she did take for blood on the front of the shirt, they were never tested.
How do you take samples from a front of a shirt and not test it as in a homicide investigation?
Well, you saw that little tin. We call it an ointment tin, but it's an evidence tin. The
Right.
little about 2 inch round.
There was the battle
Right.
about.
They had all her scrapings in it, and we saw what was in there. There was fibers, there were hairs, there were other materials. None of that got tested.
It was
Just-
all commingled.
Yeah, just the red and the clear plastic-like material were examined. The rest of that stuff wasn't ever tested. Okay.
Who here in the chat loved the energy that Robert Alessi demonstrates every time he gets up at that podium? Some people I watched and listened to other live streams today, and I saw people in the chat saying they felt it was great. Some of the streams, like Law and Crime, I can't watch a lot of that, and Court TV, they were like, "Oh, he's being a drama queen." I'm like, "Get the fuck!" Hold on a second. I was like,
You dick.
So it's just like a mixed bag of shells. But I love the fire that he exhibits in court, and I don't think Bev really cares for it because she's one-sided. But your thoughts on that, Ed?
Well, when he put the gloves on and he was getting irate, he was giving me like Dexter vibes. I was waiting for him to extract his justice from some bad person in the courtroom.
There you go.
Those holes in the back were caused by their criminalist as part of their examination.
In my brief review of the lab paperwork and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
Brennan acknowledged his error, but Judge Beverly Cannoni rejected the request for a mistrial and limited what a doctor for the defense can tell the jury.
You can tell just by looking at this jury, they're fed up.
Good afternoon, doctor. Good afternoon.
They're fed up with all of your motions in
Yes.
helping the prosecution out.
Court reporters that are there are reporting that they are frustrated with the objection sustained.
Yeah, they're rolling their eyes.
Right. And you know what? She didn't bark at Hank, and he needed a tongue lashing. He needed to be walked up one side and down the other for what he did, because a material misrepresentation of evidence to the jury can get you disbarred.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And can cause a mistrial. So, what she did was weak, totally weak.
Trial and limited what a doctor for the defense can tell the jury.
You can tell just by looking at this jury, they're fed up.
Good afternoon, doctor. Good afternoon.
Dr. Elizabeth Laposada has been barred from offering an opinion about the injuries to O'Keefe's arm, which the defense says were caused by a dog. She will be able to opine about other injuries and his death from hypothermia.
Dr. Laposada is going to opine like Frank Sheridan did. Frank Sheridan's not coming back.
Is it the hypothermia situation?
Yes.
That's another thing too.
Dr. Ford.
Yes, Ed.
It is Judge Bev, Lifeguard Bev, to the rescue again with this ruling about not allowing a forensic pathologist, double certified forensic pathologist, who is the chief medical examiner of Rhode Island and who has either supervised or conducted over 10,000 autopsies, to give an opinion on the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm. If a pathologist can't do that, then who? That is their job. Wound identification, injury identification is their job. Another bullshit ruling by Lifeguard Bev, okay?
It was despicable. When I heard that today, it was just, it drove me nuts, because this woman is fully qualified. She dropped numbers on how many autopsies she's conducted herself and how many she sat in on. And all Bev was concerned about was the amount of dog bite autopsies she's conducted that involved dog bites. I do know that was the bulk of what they wanted to bring her on to talk about, but I mean, come on. It just she was more than qualified.
Well, she is going to be able to testify about this is not a car accident, and she is going to be able to testify that the spots were not from hypothermia,
right?
Okay, but more associated with alcoholism. So she will be able to get those aspects of the testimony in.
All right. Let's get into. There was a couple other witnesses that came forward today for the defense. We had the private investigator not a lot of testimony from him. He went and took pictures, showed the front of 34 Fairview. He showed the 3 doors. And at one point in the morning, he was showing that 3rd door that led into the garage. And Bev very unexpectedly was like, very abruptly was like, okay, take that down, take that down. There was a little bit of a sidebar, a little bit of a conversation. They went for break and they came back. He continued the testimony. But really, that didn't really provide anything to us. But Dr. Wolf in the morning, he stood his ground. He, again, I feel that it was another win for the defense. Some people argue, and I played that little piece for you for one of the legal talking heads that felt that, it was an honest mistake. It was an honest mistake what Hank Brennan did, and Alessi made a big deal of it. You saw that female that was talking on that, I think it was NBC 10.
Brennan doesn't have an honest bone in his body. In fact, his moral compass is so fucked up that needle spins so fast he uses it as a fan.
Did you use the F word?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
Hold on a second. This goes for Brennan, because you told me to get this button ready.
You dick.
Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
All right, these buttons never get old, and they're very, very it's very fitting for what we see on a regular basis during this trial. Here's the last one, and then we're going to get into I'm gonna actually play the part where Hank Brennan brings up the shirt, and we'll play that because it's only 4 minutes, so we'll play that in its entirety. So let's take a listen to this. This is our third different station. Let's just listen to what they have to say.
Professor takes the stand today in Karen Reed's retrial.
But not before the defense demanded a mistrial for the second time, as NBC 10's Katie Benoit tells us live tonight in Dedham again. Katie?
Emily, the judge denied the motion for a mistrial. This is the second time that Karen Reed's defense team has asked for the case to be dropped against her.
I'll direct you to here. You see more than one hole in the back of Mr. Sweatshirt.
Yes.
A line of questioning from prosecutors to a key crash reconstruction expert led Karen Reed's defense team to ask for a mistrial with prejudice. That would mean she couldn't be tried on the charges again. The defendant is accused of backing into Boston police officer John O'Keefe with her SUV and leaving him to die in 2022.
The Commonwealth well knows from its own documents, from its own criminal list, that those holes in the back were caused by their criminalist as part of their examination.
Here was Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan's response to the scrutiny.
It appears that I made a mistake.
The judge decided it was enough to give
you fucked up
clarification to the jury after Dr. Elizabeth LaPosada took the stand.
Yes, I was appointed chief medical examiner for the state of Rhode Island in 1993.
She resigned in 2005 after complaints of alleged mismanagement, but she denied those claims. Today, she testified about O'Keefe's injuries.
Was the laceration above his eyelid on the right side a separate injury altogether?
Yes, it was.
And in an action-packed day, Reed's attorneys revealed they're presenting what's called a Bowden defense in this trial.
We are alleging that the police did not do a thorough investigation. They did not really investigate anyone other than Karen Reed.
And you know what? That Bowden defense is not ridiculous. I've heard people today talking about it and saying that it was a ridiculous reach by the defense. And what trial and what evidence are these people looking at? Ed, your thoughts on this Bowden defense and how applicable is it to this trial?
Yeah, it is 100% applicable here. I mean, from start to beginning, there was no investigation. Let's be honest, folks. There was no investigation. Then when they realized she wasn't going to cop a plea, then they had to do something to make it look like they did an investigation. Okay, that's why these reports are, or some of these reports are a year old, or that's why the evidence didn't get to the lab in a timely fashion. That's why all of this stuff occurred so late in the game, right? Because they were just expecting a plea and they'd be done with it, just like the text said. If she pleads, it's over. If she fights, it's going to be what was the word they use?
Epic.
Epic. No, I didn't. Was an epic.
Whatever.
An episode. It was going to be an episode.
I was with the E, Ed.
You were that close, but you missed it by that much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
All right. So let's listen to it in real time. Everybody's correcting episode. Look at the chat light up. The late EB323.
We have the best audience. They know their stuff.
We're at the 30-minute mark. Before we listen to Crash Daddy take the heat, I just want to get everyone's thoughts on the heavy breathing, that we were hearing not only from Crash Daddy, and I'm sure many of the women didn't mind it, but we also heard it from the good Dr. Lamposata, because they were asked to get up on the microphone. And when you get up on that little boom microphone, it's picking up everything. So their breathing is just what we're hearing them breathe. So some people were the people who are anti-Karen Reed were like, oh, Hank's got him against the wall. This is like a rope-a-dope. This is like Muhammad Ali with the rope-a-dope. I think not. I say to myself,
oh, hell no.
That's no rope-a-dope to me. But let's take a couple of these super chats, Ed, before they get all backed up. And I want to thank everybody for sending support. Ida, thank you for the 5. She says, I'm very grateful for Karen Reed. You can't fight a corrupt judge, prosecution. She might be saying I'm very frightful for Karen Reed. Mm-hmm. You can't fight a corrupt judge, prosecution, law enforcement, etc. Nobody stands a chance.
Well, just think about if she didn't have this powerful defense team and how many others in similar situation in the past or going through it right now are copping pleas or are going to be convicted because they didn't have this type of defense.
Yeah. Yep. Lord, thank you for the 5. Do you really think, or do you really expect the guy that defended Whitey Bulger not to be sleazy?
He's lower than low.
He is low. He is definitely low.
Pond scum.
Ed. Lisa, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Hayden and Beb's Bangs, thank you for becoming a new member. The Fixer is in the house, sends in a 10 and said, Bev knows Karen Reed won't be convicted, so she'll never face consequences for her biased decisions. She is sentencing Karen Reed and the taxpayers to a 3rd trial. This is key to appreciating the corruption here. I hope you're wrong. I hope that the jury gets it right the 2nd time around, and I feel that we have a really good chance. Ed, what do you think?
I think we have a chance for a full acquittal here. If they're truly following the evidence and not emotion and not feelings, follow the evidence, okay? Right. Or I should say the lack thereof on the part of the prosecution. Because remember, it is not the defense's responsibility for proving anything, right? The burden of proof is on the prosecution, and they, like I said, garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. You can't say that enough times, Ed. Thunder Horse, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Emily, thank you for the 5. The entire case is contaminated. Don't think unless he cares, LOL. Don't think unless he cares, LOL. At least he put gloves on.
Oh.
Yeah, which this is from earlier, Ed, so you don't have to go back over it. We covered that. Mickey Duff, thank you for gifting 5. Ed, I'm trying to keep you calm. I want to try to keep your blood pressure down.
Woosa.
Bad Boys 1 and 2. Graceful, is in the movie Bad Boys. The Woosa. Yeah.
Woosa, that's right.
The captain does it. Graceful, thank you for the 10 Canadian. Professor thought that he knew. He didn't question Welcher on this. I don't know. Am I getting this wrong? I'm not reading this right. That he knew.
Prof, that he knew. He didn't question Welcher's on this. So, he didn't question Welcher on any of the stuff that's being asked of Wolf.
Right.
Of Wolf.
7 Mary 3, thank you for the 10. So Dr. Lamposata, a forensic pathologist who has over 10, there's the number. She said over 10,000 autopsies. She's seen hundreds of dog bites, 40 years experience, is denied expert qualification, but no issues with Shannon Burgess. Shaking my head. Yeah, she even was in charge of investigating that Egyptian airline that went down, and 2,600 souls lost their lives, or plus 2,600 plus.
I don't think 2,600.
That's what she said. She said over 2,600
in an airplane.
I don't, unless I'm going to go to the testimony.
To the chat.
Yeah. So
what do you say, chat?
The chat will correct me, but she said a lot of souls lost their lives. I thought,
right?
She said,
yeah.
I thought that's what she said, and I shook my head when she said it, because I was like, how could that many people be on an airplane? But I heard 2,000, says Martha Ivy. We're going to go and listen to it.
265, somebody's saying. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to this, because I want to play the part where Hank works his magic. So let's listen in.
A collision as far as holes. And did you say something that was inconsistent with Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
That's what you said on redirect, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you consider whether there were holes in Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt separate from the holes in the arm?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. When you were making that opinion about consistent or inconsistent, did you ever consider whether there were holes in Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt other than the right arm?
Well, I know that there was cutting to the.
May I approach and retrieve these?
Yes.
All right. So now my memory comes back. Thank you, Millie Mae. She said 25 or 2,600 pieces of human remains.
Okay.
They had to scrub the floor of the Atlantic Ocean where the airliner went down. So there it is. I knew that number was in my head. 2,600 pieces of human remains.
Yeah, and that was, by the way, if you guys don't know, that Egyptian plane crash, that was a mass murder. That pilot purposely plummeted that plane into the ocean.
Yeah, horrific. All right, here we go. He thinks he's really doing some good work here.
You ever look at the back of the sweatshirt to see if there's any holes in the back of the sweatshirt other than the right arm, and you form your opinion?
I don't recall.
Take a look at the back. You see other holes on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
It appears I see one hole.
Let me get a little closer so you can get a better look.
And if you look at the prosecution team, the rest of them are just this is just standard operating procedure. They're not even concerned. It doesn't seem like they're, oh, we got this. This is good. We'll be able to slip this by.
I'll direct you to here. You see more than one hole in the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
Yes.
He's not done. There's more.
When you were forming your opinions that the collision would be inconsistent to damage to Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt, did you consider that Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, in looking at those holes, they're inconsistent with road rash. And again, to get those kind of holes, you have to have prolonged sliding contact on a rough surface.
Did you consider that Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, if you just fall and land on your back, you're not going to be sliding to get those abrasions and tearing. And again, those are not consistent with road rash.
You can't fool him.
You can't fool Dr. Crash Daddy. And I love that he said it twice. And still Hank just ignored it and thought that he was onto something really good here. Like, I got you. You didn't catch this. And he was trying to fool the jurors. And no matter what, look, let us know in the chat what you think of this. No matter what, if it's stricken from the record, and Bev instructs that little bullshit instruction that she gave them, and it almost seemed like she was annoyed to give that instruction, and she didn't even give it the way she said she was going to give it. She made a condensed version of it. But do you think that in those jurors' minds that this is just going to be erased? What happened today?
No, I think it's going to hurt the prosecution because they're going to look at this because, tomorrow they're coming back in and the defense is demanding judge give better instructions to the jury about what transpired here because they're not happy with that. And she seemed amiable to doing that. And on this, it's this question here has, directly what you just said. The fixer says, love you guys. And thanks for the $5, by the way. But be realistic. Doubt was just as strong as last time. You need to acknowledge that and be prepared. The fix is in. This jury is in their 30s. Okay. I think the mean age is around 30. And they're a lot more attentive than the previous jury. And also, after several of the previous trials, jurors gave interviews, the defense learned many of the issues that they were having with various testimonies.
Right.
And I think they accounted for that in this trial. But if there's somebody corrupt on the jury, there's nothing you or I can do about that. And let's just hope and pray that that's not the case.
Amen to that, brother Ed. Melanie Hedicky? Am I mashing that up? Hedicky? Melanie, thank you so much for the 50. Keep it up. Such a travesty. It's a travesty of justice, that's for sure. Thank you for the generosity. Ed, could you make heads or tails of that last name?
Hideki?
Thank you. I did mash it up. Apologize for that. Let's listen to this. Let's listen to Crash Daddy just for a little bit more because he's not done.
That Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, in looking at those holes, they're inconsistent with road rash. And again, to get those kind of holes, you have to have prolonged sliding contact on a rough surface.
Did you consider that Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, if you just fall and land on your back, you're not going to be sliding to get those abrasions and tearing. And again, those are not consistent with road rash.
Didn't ask that question. Did you consider?
That's his answer, dickhead.
Yeah, I didn't answer that. I didn't ask that question.
I can't stand when he does that.
Yeah.
Yes. Hit the button again.
Hold on.
You dick.
Abrasions and tearing. And again,
real time.
those are not consistent with road rash.
Didn't ask that question.
You dick.
Did you consider?
That was good.
Sorry,
Did you consider whether Mr. O'Keefe had fallen or landed on his back?
No.
Did you know about or consider the multiple holes in the back of his sweatshirt when you came and formulated your opinions?
No.
You did no studies whatsoever about the damage to the sweatshirt if he fell or landed on the cold, hard ground and had broken taillight shards in his clothing, did you?
No.
I have no further questions.
You dick.
Wait, he gets one more.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
That never gets old. Reality Check says, "Hey, don't be mean to my Crash Daddy," and she or he is referencing that to Hanky Brennan. Makeup Mom brought up a point. She said he asks the same question a million times until he gets the answer he wants. That's what they do.
I would turn around and say, "That's my answer."
He's playing the role of a defense attorney now because they've rested their case. So Makeup Mobster and many others who are watching this, we all know, that Hank Brennan is now is not really a prosecutor. He's on the defense, and his defense is to attack every one of the witnesses that come in here for the defense. That's what he's doing. Ed, I'm sorry, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's like the roles are reversed. It's again, I said this numerous times in previous episodes. He's reverted to the defense, and the defense is the prosecution.
Right. I love the one of the comments that I wrote down for Dr. Lamposada today, and it was a lot of about her education and background and her experience. But she said one thing that I highlighted, and she said, when we are examining our the body of a decedent, we are the last doctor that the decedent has. So we try to go above and beyond to get to the answers of what happened. So I wrote that down, and I thought it was really high impact. And I don't recall hearing many forensic pathologists and medical examiners say that. Not, maybe they've said it in different ways, but not quite like that. And I thought it was definitely high impact for the jury, because she was showing her passion for justice, her passion for getting to the answers, because the dead cannot speak. These bodies speak to these medical examiners as they are examining them. And Barbara Butcher said that to us many a time. Ed, your thoughts?
No, yeah, she gave a good definition too, a very lay person definition for cause and manner of death and how they do it and why they do it. And I thought that was awesome. I'm sure the jury got it.
Yeah, 100%. And somebody said in the chat it was a sobering statement. Let me see if I can get that. Hi, Trisha. Thank you for being a channel member. She says, yeah, sobering statement. Absolutely. So there are a lot of things that make us go, as investigators, as Ed is a CSI expert. He has processed over 2,500 crime scenes in his career, and to date, and Ed is teaching. He's going across the world teaching various forms of forensics, weapons of mass destruction, you name it, Ed's doing it. And to date, in all of his time, I don't think Ed has ever seen something like this. I'll let you answer that, Ed.
Yeah, in 399 trials that I've been a part of, I have never seen anything like this in a courtroom. I've never seen a judge like this. I've never seen a prosecution like this. This is all groundbreaking for me, and it stinks to the high heavens. And anyone who touches it, anyone who gets near it, it's like getting slimed. Okay. And as we're getting closer and closer to the end, and you will see more signs of desperations on the part of the Commonwealth. And then you'll have these people, these toxic people who, they hear what they want to hear, they see what they want to see, and disregard everything else, which is like the definition of confirmation bias. Okay. And then they go on these rants and attacks of people that don't agree with them, or people who say something in support of science and forensic science and evidence, and not feelings and not witness statements, because witness statements are not reliable. Okay. For the most part, witness statements are not reliable. Yeah. Science doesn't lie. People lie.
There you go. We have merchandise that says the science does not lie. On the Ground sends in a chat, a highlighted chat in the live chat. I wish other judges talked about this woman. And I want to say this. I guarantee you, after this trial is over, there will be retired judges that talk about this woman. How could you not? There is just so much to talk about. And many of the news outlets, the mainstream media, they are just playing along and playing nice. Here on YouTube, we don't have to play nice. And we call the balls and strikes, as Ed says. So we call it as we see it. And we're not speaking, we're speaking for all of us here. We're not just speaking so you can listen and follow. We're saying the things that everybody in this chat is feeling, for the most part. Maybe not all, but a majority. Ed, you got something highlighted? What do you got there?
Ed, do you think the FBI are watching this judge and how this case and county is treating this case? Will they come back and investigate? I know this for a fact, that Lifeguard Bev is getting a lot of complaints people from all around the world are writing in to the powers that be in the Commonwealth to complain about the judge and what they see in this trial. I know that complaints about Brennan are the same, and I know people are writing to the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate this. Okay, that's how invested people have become in this particular case. And that's, because our criminal justice system is under attack with this case. And people, thank God it's televised so that people can actually see what is going on in their names. Remember, all prosecutions are done in the name of the people. So wherever you live, it's always the same. So it's the people of the state of New York versus, or it's the people state of California versus, or it's the people of the Commonwealth versus. And then if it's a federal case, it's the people of the United States versus. Okay, so all of this is being done in our name, and people are putting their foot down. We can't have this. All right, things need changing here, and everybody's seeing it.
People are angry. As they say, when you speak in volumes, and when we band together, and like you said, Ed, many people are making complaints, not just in the USA, across the world. This is an international case. There's people calling in from the UK. There's people calling in from Australia. There's people calling into the court there in Denham from all over the globe. And they're complaining about Judge Bev and the jury. We know the jury is frustrated with her and all of her sustained objections as it pertains to the Commonwealth. So I would be shocked if this jury comes back with nothing less than a non-guilty verdict. But we expect that by the end of this week, the jury could potentially have this case, because it doesn't seem like the defense has many more witnesses that they're going to call. I'm not sure if the dog bite expert, Garrett Wing, is going to be called, because we didn't hear any conversation about that, but we don't know. Let's get to these super chats and get to the audience. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. I'm going to go back from the latest one and work my way backwards. My sticky on your face is in it too. Mr. Hanky, the prosecutor poo, is a slime ball piece of shit. Yes, I agree. We agree. Thank you. Beautiful messy ball. Thank you for the 2. This case reminds me of a TV series, Your Honor. Look at Aunt BB2 chiming in. Good to see you, Aunt BB2. Thank you for being a channel member. She sends in 10 and says, we have another Woodier with Dr. Rentschler, other half of Crash Daddy. Yes. Why? Oh, so Bev can deny him on things Dr. Wolf told Hank he couldn't answer? Got it. What do you think, Ed?
There should be no more voir dire of Dr. Rentschler. Because Hank put in another argument to the judge that he wants certain testimony of his to be denied. Right. I mean, how many times do we have to have these voir dires? How many times does this guy get to make these kind of motions, and the judge honors them?
Yeah.
Okay, this is ridiculous. We're in the end game now. He's going to pretty much be the last witness for the defense, and he's still fighting to hide this evidence, right? Because he's going to come in and he's going to crush him. Listen, his case has been shit from the word go. Yeah. All his witnesses come in, and everybody can see how many people have lied, how many people are untrustworthy in his witnesses. You got a witness that admitted they perjured themselves in the grand jury. You got another one that admitted that, falsified educational records, how many different witnesses have come in for the prosecution that just look terrible to the average Joe watching this trial.
Yeah. Yeah. And forget about the average Joe. What about the jurors? Their heads are obviously spinning. Emily, thank you for the 5. I don't like to say hate. I dislike intensely the Commonwealth.
Yes, amen.
Matt Brickner, thank you for the 5. He says the doctor also wrote multiple chapters in textbooks that are used to teach medical students, but can't opine about dog bites. Unreal. Yeah. Insane. Brown University School of Medicine, Providence, Rhode Island. Some of her background is just incredible. And she's still teaching to this day, right, Ed? Or is she fully retired? Rexy and I know it. Thank you for the 5. He or she says, look at that. It's a bunny. It's an Easter bunny. Hank Brennan looks like an AI's answer to what would a rat look like if it were a human. That's a good one. Thank you, Rexy. The Fixer is back at it. Love you guys, but realistic. Okay,
We did answer that.
this one up. I love you, The Fixer. Thank you for being here. Josh H. I always think of our producer, Josh. May he rest in peace.
Amen.
Sent a 5 and said, notice, Wolf said there were cuttings before Hank pulled this BS stunt. Notice Dr. Wolf said there were cuttings before Hank pulled this BS stunt.
That's right, he did.
Yeah, he
you
did.
can't pull the wool over his eyes.
Lisa Dempsey, amen, brother. And Lisa Dempsey sends in 10 and she says, I truly believe in karma and I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of what's coming to Brennan and the Honorable Judge Cannoni. How could she say even honorable? This is lifeguard Bev. Just kidding, Lisa. I look forward to your thoughts on these nightly lives. Thank you. We'll freak out and read. We appreciate everybody who's here and tunes into us nightly. You know, we are giving it to you raw and unfiltered. There's no script in front of us. A lot of notes. I won't deny that. I got notes everywhere. Posted notes. My office and studio looks like a freak show here. I got sticky notes. You know what? I should turn on my other camera. Let me turn this other camera on. You guys want to see the other camera view? It's going to be dark, but I'll show you all my sticky notes real quick. I have a whole board to my left. Look at that. Hold on. I'm going to go solo. Let me take the, look at that. Unbelievable.
Yep. And then pages and pages
of notes. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Lisa says, I truly believe in karma. Okay. Melanie, thank you for gift. Oh, gift and 10 memberships. Thank you for that. I love when our friends gift out those memberships. Thank you for gifting 1 membership. And there's Melanie back again with the generous 50. TG sends in a 10. Ed, I'm going to start coughing, so take this.
What would it take to get active Massachusetts State Police officers to speak up starting now? An act of God.
Yeah, and some honest look. We didn't have the state police, but we did have a Dighton police sergeant come forward, and Sergeant Barros was the only real, true, and honest police officer that testified in this trial, and I'm sure he's taking shit for it. Kim McDonald, go ahead, Ed, take that.
Yeah, for Ed and DutyRon's, fucks, you both are gold. Okay. For fuck's sake.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Holly, thank you for becoming a new member. Aunt BB2 is back at it again. Thank you, Aunt BB2, for being a channel member. Sends in 10 and says, let's face it, Bev would deny the brilliant Barbara Butcher. Yeah. Look, she's showing her favoritism for the Commonwealth. I'm sure that they go out during the course of the year and celebrate Christmas parties. Look, when I worked in Queens, we would have our Christmas party. Court officers would come to the Queens Warrant Squad, the Fugitive Enforcement Division's Christmas party. So we would get court officers who we interact with daily. And I, on 2 separate occasions, was standing at the bar at the Christmas party with a criminal court judge and a Supreme Court judge. And I had conversations with them as a detective who brings fugitives back into their courtrooms. And you know, so there's a relationship there. Don't anybody be fooled by this. The Commonwealth, I'm not saying that they go out to dinner every night, but I know for a fact it's not different in Canton than it is in Queens, New York City. So this was in the 90s and in the mid 2000s. We would get opportunities a few times a year at these holiday parties where these judges and court officers would show up, and it is what it is. Take it for what it's worth. Darkborn sends in a 10 and says, at what point does the feds and DOJ step in? Did you answer this, Ed?
I don't believe we answered this. Federal DOJ step in and arrest Brennan, the judge, and all who have violated Karen Reed's civil rights and malicious prosecution. Well, again, the feds take a long time with these investigations. And it's going to go through the Civil Rights Division, and they got to make a case, get a grand jury, get an indictment, and if that's the way this is going to go.
Right. Thank you for that super chat. Evie323, the mom of the history chick. And she's a really cool mom, by the way. Very cool. She sends in 10 and says, just my opinion. Bev has trampled over the defendant's rights to a fair trial. She is an advocate for the prosecutor. Bev needs to re-educate herself on the U.S. Constitution. This trial is unbelievable.
Yeah, you see it in Brennan's arguments. Like, he has it in his head that somehow the Constitution protects the Commonwealth to a right to a fair trial, when no, it's the defendant that has the constitutional right to a fair trial, not the prosecutors.
Right.
Okay. So I just don't get it.
Right. Thank you, Ida, for the DV is jealous. DV is jealous. Thank you for the 2. Appreciate that. Ed, can you make heads or tail of that? I don't know if it's a spelling error. DV is jealous.
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I want my $2.
Yeah, I want my $2. CPP woman against predators plus 2P sends in a 5, and she says, Ron, what's your thoughts on the officer that was let go? Disgraced trooper Michael Proctor. We've called him a piece of shit, a piece of garbage. Anybody that is investigating homicides, he's a homicide investigator, was a homicide investigator. And any investigator, whether you work in special victims or any investigatory assignment, if you are speaking about your cases and the potential perpetrators in your cases, and in this one, he had the girl, they were pinning it on the girl in 16 hours into this investigation. 16 hours into this investigation, he was putting in a text message that the girl is going to get, and the homeowner is not catching any shit at 34 Fairview.
Because he's a cop.
It's going to be the girl. He's a piece of shit. He should probably dig a hole and just put his head in it and never surface again. He should be flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. And maybe I withdraw that. Your Honor, I withdraw that statement. He should probably just go somewhere and just disappear off the face of the earth, because he is a piece of shit in my book.
It's funny. You would think that would be the normal response, but after O.J. Simpson, I would have thought the same thing of some of the individuals in that case. But no, they become talking heads on TV shows and so forth. I was like, No. Mary says, Ron and Ed, thank you for the 5. Larry Foreman was in court on Friday, and he did a great show on jury reactions. It was hilarious. You should watch it. I saw it.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is. Ed, you're going to have to tell me about that.
The DUI lawyer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Danielle, thank you for the 5. She says Auntie Bev talked into her smartwatch today.
Yeah, she was a bit terse today. She was a bit touchy, It's funny, too, because I didn't see her bark at Brennan about leaving the shirt in the plexiglass up there by the witness stand, like she barked about the taillight. Okay.
I think we got to everything. Thank you for gifting 20 memberships. That's huge. Thank you, Pilot's wife, for gifting 20 memberships. That's awesome. Right? I think we covered this one. 7 Mary 3. Yes. Okay, good. We're up to date. Let's go to the chat. And look, I want people to understand it's not just about the super chats here. It's about the chat, the live chat. This live audience is the heartbeat of this community here. So we thank you guys for being here, and we love and appreciate you, and we thank you. So let's go to the live chat. Ed, do you see anything in the live chat? Ooh.
Well,
you keep putting that up, Ed?
I just put up this because you asked me if I saw something, and I put it up. So, Ed, that's each and every day with Bev. I get what you're saying, but today she barked at Jackson and said, "Well, if you're not going to listen to me, give me a break there, Bev. All right."
Yeah. Ida says exactly. I got furious. Let's see. She was lashing out big time, says Benzie NYC. Crispy Treats in the audience, and it's always good to see Crispy. Thank you for being here. Sue To me, that is crazy. Obvious that's to distract from her clear bias on this trial. I guess she's speaking with somebody else in the chat. Look at this one, Ed. Stephanie says, you guys are awesome. No, you're awesome.
You're awesome.
You're awesome. Hold on a second. I got something. I think a bag boys is coming in right now, Ed. Get ready. Look how he reaches for his props. Ready?
Ready, Freddie.
Don't break the bag. Don't bust the bag. All right, put the bag down. I love it, Ed. I love it.
Never gets old.
Look at, holy crap. Look at Schmitty. She's like, I've been waiting for that the whole entire night. How many people look forward to Bag Boys? Not Bad Boys, not B-A-D. It's Bag, B-A-G, Bag Boys.
Brought to you by Lieutenant Leaf Blower.
Put a 1 in the
and
chat.
Stop and Shop.
Put a 1 in the chat if you look forward to Bag Boys. Put a 2 if it's getting old. Let's see if there's any 2s in there.
This episode of DutyRon and Ed Wallace brought to you by Stop and Shop and Red Solo Cup.
All right, enough. Let's reel it in. So, I think for the folks who are joining late, there's a lot of people, Ed, that unbeknownst to us, come into these chats like midway through, and they don't catch what we did in the beginning. So we're going to play this quick recap because this really goes over the wow moments of day 29. Tomorrow will be day 30. Bev is looking to do a full day tomorrow. What her full days look like is kind of skewed to me, but let's play what the folks who came in the beginning and now the folks that are coming in at the end missed. This is just an overview of day 29.
On Canton Confidential, John O'Keefe's sweatshirt shown before the jury leads to another call for a mistrial.
The Commonwealth has no case.
I'm not going to allow the mistrial motion.
What made the special prosecutor admit he made a mistake in front of the jury? Plus,
I find that she is not qualified.
The judge rules on another expert called by the
Not qualified. Bullshit.
defense. Details on the limited testimony a forensic pathologist is allowed to give on the stand. Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial starts right now.
The holes in the shirt were entirely misrepresented by the prosecutor to make it look like they came from January 29th and they came from May by the criminologist.
Karen Reed reacting to drama that played out in the courtroom today as the 8th week of testimony in her murder trial got underway. For the second time, the defense called for a mistrial. Good evening, everyone. I'm JC Monahan. Glenn is off tonight. Melody Mendez joins us now to recap the day in court that featured a number of experts. Melody?
Well, JC, here's the thing. Let's talk about that motion for a mistrial because that is without question the headline of the day. The bottom line here is the prosecutor made a mistake. Those were his words, he said in open court. The defense thinks that was enough to call for a mistrial. The judge, once again, disagreed, but here's how it all played out. Accident reconstructionist Dr. Daniel Wolf back on the stand. The defense pulling up photos of the test dummy, noting that after it was impacted by the SUV in testing, there were holes in its clothing, inconsistent with those in John O'Keefe's clothes.
What caused the defects in the damage to the sweatshirt as we see it here?
That was due to the interaction from the Rescue Randy sliding on the pavement surface.
Alan Jackson also noted the damage to the dummy's face, none of which was present on John O'Keefe's body or face, trying to show O'Keefe's injuries were not consistent with any collision with Reed's SUV. Under cross-examination, Hank Brennan tried to poke holes in the doctor's science, trying to discredit the doctor's conclusion that O'Keefe was not hit by Karen Reed's vehicle. Brennan asked Wolf if he considered that O'Keefe's sweatshirt had holes in locations other than on the sleeve. Brennan holding up the sweatshirt John O'Keefe was wearing that night, pointing to holes in the back of the garment. Minutes later, this.
The defense moves for a mistrial with prejudice.
Here's the problem. Those holes Brennan was showing the jury as potentially indicating signs of a collision were actually made by the criminalist, the prosecution team's witness, when she was examining the sweatshirt. Defense attorney Robert Alessi called it a stunt and intentional misconduct by the prosecution.
The Commonwealth has no case. They have no collision. They are desperate and are trying to create evidence of specters of collision where the evidence doesn't support it. So what have we come to? We've come to the manufacture of evidence.
It appears that I made a mistake.
Brennan agreed the holes were made by the state's own criminalist. Still, Judge Cannoni denied the defense's request for a mistrial. Instead, she allowed Attorney Alessi to hold up the sweatshirt for the jury, then provided them with this brief instruction.
Jurors, I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt.
2 more witnesses took the stand before the end of the day. And as we do every day, we offered the friends and family of John O'Keefe a chance to share their thoughts on their way out of court.
We don't have to. You guys have all the lines going on. Good job, by the way. Doing a great job. Spread the line.
They made it clear they do not wish to speak at this time.
Did she say the prosecutor's doing a great job, Ed?
She said something about a great job. I couldn't catch it all.
The friends and family of John O'Keefe a chance to share their thoughts on their way out of court.
We don't have to. You guys have all the lines going on. Good job, by the way. Doing a great job. Spread the line.
They're doing a great job. Okay, so that's what you missed today in court. Ed, yeah, thank you. I was just going to highlight that. So take it.
So Casey, if we can pull up that tin later on, if you can find it, Ron, if you can find the tin with the evidence in it, or the micrograph that they showed Dr. Wolf of the evidence. Yeah, there were fibers and there were hairs and there were other materials in there, possible carpet fibers, clothing fibers, possible hairs, human or animal. We don't know. And they didn't test it. But guess what? That witness is coming back. The lab analyst is coming back. And I hope, yeah, there it is right there, folks. That's the micrograph. That's a photograph through the microscope. Very tiny pieces here. You might find some seeds in here and some pollen and some other stuff. But, that stuff should have been tested. Okay. But this witness is coming back. The prosecution team is bringing her back as a rebuttal witness for the dog DNA because she did swabs around some of the defects on the sleeve of Officer John O'Keefe's shirt. But the defense needs to ask her, how come these fibers and possible hairs and other materials in here were not tested? What if there are dog hairs in here? What if there are fibers from inside of the Albert's house? Because remember, he's never been in that house before.
According to the prosecution.
Right. In general, he's never been to this house before. He had to get direction from Jennifer McCabe to get to this house. He's never been inside this house before. He has no connection to this house. Yeah. So if there's German Shepherd hair in here, or there's carpet from one of the rooms in there, or fibers from an article of clothing or a fabric furniture or whatever the case may be, that's in here, well, then how'd he get it? Where'd it come from?
But they didn't do it. The
right.
Common folk would say, why collect all this shit? Well, why collect all this stuff and not test it? Why? Because they didn't want to get to the truth. And like what you just said, Ed, you are a good investigator. You are a crack investigator, and you pay attention to the details, as should any good detective investigator. But in this case, they collected stuff, and they didn't want to know what it was or where it came from. Because as you said, if you match these hairs and fibers or whatever this is here to inside 34 Fairview, we got another case here. We got a whole nother ball game going on.
That's right. And the fixer, you're 100% right. I was yelling at the television about this as well. So he's allowed, the brain surgeon, the neurosurgeon, he's allowed to opine and give expert testimony and opinion about things outside of his area of expertise. And a pathologist whose job it is to identify injuries and wounds and determine how they came about on a decedent can't. Imagine that.
Insanity at its best. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. We're going to wrap it up. It's an hour and 14 minutes. I want to get to some of the chat, the live chat. If there is any more questions, we're scanning it as we speak. And that is some people that say, oh, well, some creators or you guys don't answer any questions that are not super chats. And that's not the case here. We answer a fair combination of both, you know?
Yeah, you know how much time I spend after the show is over going through the comments on YouTube and trying to answer out everything. And you know, you got 1,000 comments, and I'm going through it. You know,
I don't
not
think
enough time in the day.
Exactly. We answer thousands of comments in a course of a week, thousands. So between Ed and I, we answer out thousands of comments, each of us, and we do it ourselves. Nobody's doing it for us. So I don't think that they'll call Colin Albert back. I don't think we'll hear from him. They're getting ready to wrap this thing up this week. So let's see anything else. Is that yes? Ed is married. Yes, he's married. He's asking if you're married, Ed.
Yes.
Yes, he's happily married, so he's not available. The same thing with Dr. Wolf. He's got a ring on his finger. All the single ladies. All the single ladies. Uh-oh. Ed's showing something. Ed and his bride. Ed, are you wearing underpants underneath there, Ed?
No self-respecting Scott wears underwear.
You have no drawers on. You're just free balling it under there with your wife on a cruise ship, no less, it looks like. No, that's not a cruise ship. That's somebody's backyard. Where's that? At the Taj Mahal?
Hold on.
Ed, are you wearing underpants? It sounds
no, you don't wear. Commando, my friend, commando.
Oh, my God.
What are you people? On dope?
Everybody's going crazy. Underpants, right? Okay, there's Ed and the missus.
Hold on. 2
detectives. You got to put your hand in front of the. It's not working. We got to get you a better camera, Ed.
Yeah, hold on.
If I had it over here, it would come through nice and clear.
No.
It's just blank faces. We see the uniforms.
I tried.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for sharing. I'll grab a picture. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. I got to get to bed because tomorrow's a new day, and we got day 30. Day 30 to what's tomorrow going to bring, Ed? Your thoughts on tomorrow?
Well, so we have to finish up with the doctor. She's not done yet.
Yes.
Okay. And then I believe it's going to be Crash Daddy Part 2.
Part 2.
And hopefully that will be the end of the case.
And then the jury will get the case hopefully before Friday and deliberate, or maybe they'll wait till Monday. We don't know. So I want to just say thank you to the replay viewers, the super chatters, the moderators. We have the best mods in the business. The moderators work hard to keep the channel and chat classy. We want to thank you for being here. If you can, please, Ed, I know I speak for both of us. We would like it, both of us would like it if you would take a minute to give it a thumbs up, share the video, like the video, subscribe.
Put your DNA on that button.
Oh, Ed, you said it. Put the DNA. Ed wants the DNA on the button. We would appreciate that. It's free to do. And while we're here, we might as well do it. What's Kev got to say?
Who outranks whom, Ed? You tell him, Ron.
Ed outranks me in a few different categories. One, and first and foremost, his knowledge base and his smarts.
No, I think he was talking about me and my wife.
No, I'm talking about me and you. We're married too, Ed. So
yeah, you're my job spouse.
Ed's wife definitely outranks him, hands down. Although Ed Wallace is the man of his house, Margaret outranks him.
Well, as you can see from the photograph, I wear the skirt in the house. But anyhow,
I'm afraid of Margaret. I don't want to get on her bad side because
we are both the same detective rank.
Yes, but she's the boss of you, no matter what.
That's correct. She always. Listen, if you haven't learned this already, men, you're not in charge of anything. We never were. Women are in charge of the world, and we just, hang around and pick up the scraps.
Exactly. All right, as we always say, this is about the victim here, Police Officer John O'Keefe. I would like to, before Ed says his final words, actually, I'm going to put you, and I know you always got something to say at the end of these things, but we're going to play a tribute to Police Officer John O'Keefe at the end of this. So, Ed, I know you always got something to say at the end of our live streams. You got the screen.
Well, folks, thanks again for being here for this almost hour and a half with us. We value your time, and it's an honor to have you here to listen to us opine and just to have a laugh or two, as Carol Burnett used to say. I always want you to be safe. I want you to be prepared, and I want you to watch your six.
Amen to that, brother. Thank you for it. And again, we value all of the replay viewers. Our replay viewers are second to none. Leave us comments down below in the comments section, because it's a way to continue the conversation with myself and Ed Wallace. We thank you for being here. We can't say it enough. I repeat myself over and over again because it is so important. You guys are very, very, very important to us. So thank you. Here's a short little video that Kristen put together in memory of Police Officer John O'Keefe. Won't you take a moment to listen as we segue out?
True blue heart, a badge of grace, no shadow you wouldn't face. When fate struck hard and grief cut deep, you chose to stand, not sit and weep. You open wide your humble door, where children found a home once more. There's nothing you wouldn't do to lift the world up that leaned on you. Every heartbeat in this town now marches toward what's right. Justice may lose its footing, yet truth commands the night. Those who shield their secrets, hiding wrongs behind their lies, will meet the light you carried blazing bright across their skies.
His casket as it was carried into a church in Braintree. The 46-year-old was well respected among his peers, and he raised his niece and nephew when his sister and her husband died.